A Salt Lake County Sheriff's deputy has been found dead after a welfare check inside a Tooele home. The details behind her death and the search for her father.
People protest in Ogden over DCFS and how the state handled the case of 12-year-old Gavin Peterson. What DCFS says they plan to do next.
Another day in the triple digits. That excessive heat warning continues for your Tuesday. Is there any break from the heat? And what about moisture? We'll have a look at radar coming up.
This was the best case scenario in a very bad situation.
A car stolen in Salt Lake City with a baby sleeping inside. This strange turn of events that led to the baby's safe return, making the lottery legal in Utah. The idea has been proposed before, but this time there's a compromise in the bill. Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Chapman. We are tracking breaking news happening right now in South Ogden. There is a crash involving an ambulance. This happened at the intersection of 5600 South and Harrison Boulevard right around 8 p.m. tonight, just over an hour ago. Take a look at some images a viewer sent us of the scene. We are still working to get more information about what led up to this crash. We can tell you, however, the ambulance ended up rolling during this incident. No word yet on the extent of any injuries. Take a live look at the scene right now. What's left of it, pretty much all clear at this point. But again, we are working to get more information from authorities. We, of course, will keep you updated as we learn more. We've learned a Salt Lake County Sheriff's deputy was found dead in a Tooele home last week. And tonight, police are currently searching for her father, who's now a person of interest in the case. Fox 13 News reporter Darian DeBrule tells us what we know so far.
25-year-old Marbella Martinez was sworn in as a corrections officer with the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office at the beginning of this year. Last Thursday, Tooele City police say she was found dead inside a home in this neighborhood, and police are calling her death suspicious. The Tooele City police say they responded to an address near 1220 East and 970 North for a welfare check on August 1st. When officers arrived, they found Marbella dead inside. Corporal Colby Bentley with the Tooele Police Department says based off numerous factors in the investigation, they were able to name a person of interest. Hector Martinez Ayala, a 54-year-old male who police say is Marbella's dad. Corporal Bentley says at the time everything occurred, Martinez Ayala was no longer in the Tooele area and multiple agencies are actively searching for him.
Anytime when there's a potential homicide and the suspect hasn't been caught, there always is some level of danger potentially. What I would say to ease the public's mind in this certain situation to any level that we can is we believe this was a targeted incident and others are not at risk at this time.
The Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office released this statement Monday in response to Marbella's death, saying in part, Deputy Martinez was a dedicated member of our Sheriff's Office family. In her short time with us, she became a cherished friend and an integral part of our team. Her untimely and tragic death is a profound loss for us all. Corporal Bentley tells me they are still waiting to hear back from the medical examiner's office on cause of death, but he says anytime a healthy 25-year-old passes away, it raises red flags. In Tooele, Darian DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Police have arrested a man who is accused of stealing a car that had an 8-month-old baby sleeping inside. Salt Lake City police say around 2 o'clock today, they took a call from a woman reporting someone stole her car with her baby girl inside near 100 North and 1300 West. Officers believe 29-year-old Dimitri Saliba stole the car as it was left running in a driveway while the mother was finishing errands between the car and the house. When he realized an infant was in the back seat, he then drove to the sheriff's office. Once there, Saliba got out of the car, approached an off-duty deputy, handed them the baby, and stated he had stolen the car.
That sheriff deputy sprang into action and immediately protected the child and then also took the suspect into custody. We also have to acknowledge a South Salt Lake police officer happened to be at a nearby parking lot, was hearing all of this unfold on the radio. That South Salt Lake officer came in, backed up that off-duty sheriff.
The baby was not hurt and later reunited with her mom. Saliba has been booked into the Salt Lake County Metro Jail. We are learning more from the Division of Child and Family Services tonight on how the state plans to investigate and learn from the death of 12-year-old Gavin Peterson from West Haven. This response comes as protest against the division took place in Ogden tonight. Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser was there.
He was just a little boy. Had his whole future ahead of him.
Screams don't feel loud enough.
Investigate before it's too late. How many calls does it take?
How many calls does it take?
And words don't feel adequate enough
How many calls does it take?
to express the outrage the Weber County community feels for the death of 12-year-old Gavin Peterson.
The most important thing to me right now is that kids be safe. Kids get to be visible. They don't get to be hidden away in a room without a bed and get beaten and starved to death.
Susan Phillips worked alongside Shane Peterson, the West Haven man accused of abusing and killing his son, alongside his second wife, Nicole, and son, Tyler. All three appeared in court Thursday.
I didn't imagine that he could have done anything like this in a million years.
Their disbelief also crosses over to DCFS, who allegedly received multiple reports of Gavin's abuse.
If there's multiple allegations, you just don't shut and close a case like that. You go back and check.
In a new statement sent to Fox 13, the division says it understands the need and desire for answers, writing, "For everyone who is demonstrating, we hear you." The state added that there are controls in place to reduce the likelihood of tragedy and that unfortunately, they do occur.
This is why this whole agency is in place, is to keep this from happening.
Monday night's protest in Ogden was specifically directed toward DCFS, which is currently undergoing 2 reviews, one within the division and one by the DHHS Fatality Review Committee. That committee could include the Fatality Review Coordinator, the Attorney General's office, law enforcement, school district officials, and more.
The only people that are saying something are these children right here. These people right here are saying something.
Those findings will go to DHHS leaders and the Utah Legislature's Child Welfare Legislative Oversight Panel, which is scheduled to meet in September. Reporting in Ogden, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A judge will not dismiss a big part of a lawsuit filed by a group of drag queens against the city of St. George. Southern Utah drag stars sued the city after it was denied a permit for a drag show. A federal judge ordered the show to go on. The judge has now refused to dismiss the lawsuit. The city argued the drag show happened and the council changed its ordinances. The judge ruled there are still constitutional questions about the city's conduct and whether Southern Utah drag stars was discriminated against. The judge did dismiss some counts, but the rest of the lawsuit will move forward. The results now in from the recount in Utah's 2nd Congressional District Republican primary. Colby Jenkins has lost by 176 votes to incumbent Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. The race was so close, a recount was requested. All counties recounted their ballots, and this is the updated result. However, Jenkins is still contesting the race. He's filed a petition with the Utah Supreme Court, raising questions about ballots that may have been sent out of state to be processed. The court has not yet decided if it will take up the case. Tonight, Congresswoman Malloy did release a statement to Fox 13 News, noting despite the result of the recount, she is still waiting out the litigation. On X, the social media network formerly known as Twitter, Jenkins said he is advancing bit by bit and says the outcome is not final. Washington County was the last county to get in their recount totals just before 5 p.m. A software issue prevented a final result last Thursday, stretching into the weekend, with county poll workers needing to work all Saturday just to fix the issue. Washington County Commissioner Adam Snow came in himself and said ballots in that county were ultimately examined 10 times. He says he can only be upfront and transparent with those still skeptical about the election process.
And you stand there and you say, let me be completely transparent with everything that we did. Let me tell you every step along the way. Let me tell you about the process. Let me tell you the other steps that I've taken to try and ensure that your vote was counted, every vote was counted legally and accurately.
In the recount, Jenkins gained 16 votes in Washington County and 1 vote in nearby Iron County. Of the 659 ballots that came in after the postmark deadline to Washington County, 123 were processed by the Postal Service in Las Vegas. We've also received a statement from Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson saying that she is concerned about the software error that led to all of this, but she is glad it got fixed in the recount, adding this incident will be investigated further to ensure it will never happen again. Let's head over to Fox 13 meteorologist Chris Nunley about all this heat. I was talking to a gal earlier today. I met her in the store, Chris. She's here from Nashville, Tennessee visiting, and she said, you know, Utah is, it's not as humid, but it is so much hotter than Tennessee right now.
Yeah, it's really hot here. Some of the hottest temperatures in the entire U.S. here in Utah. It gets hot this time of the year, and when you get the hot temperatures and you have that monsoonal moisture, you see the showers and storms, and that's what we saw a little bit earlier this afternoon. That activity is starting to fizzle out, though, as we get later in the evening. We're losing that daytime heating, but there are a few areas that are still looking out and seeing some of the rain right now. As you work your way south of Salt Lake toward Provo, down toward the south side of Eagle Mountain, Eureka, Vernon, starting to see some of the rain continuing to move in from southwest to north and east. So it's possible you see a couple more raindrops out there. Hopefully you didn't wash your car. If you did, you may have to wash it again. The activity will continue to start to fizzle out as we work our way into the overnight hours tomorrow morning. But by tomorrow afternoon, we see additional showers and storms starting to pop up with that addition of the daytime heating. Not going to be as widespread as what we saw today, and tomorrow's high temperatures are going to be really hot. The hottest temperatures we've seen in a while, still 91 right now. Record highs possible in Salt Lake tomorrow. I'll let you know how hot it's going to get and how long those hot temperatures are going to stick around coming up in just a couple of minutes. Kelly.
Wall Street got a major shakeup today after a historic meltdown in the Asian stock market over the weekend. We talk with a local economist about what this means for your hard-earned money. Plus, banning books in our public schools. The ongoing battle over public opinion.
It's week 2 of college football fall camps. Will the Utes be a run team or a passing team this year? We'll hear from quarterback Cam Rising coming up in sports.
Over the weekend, Salt Lake City police arrested a man who allegedly fired a gun in the air just to attract a passing officer's attention. This happened just after 12:30 a.m. on Sunday in the area of 700 East Wilmington Avenue. The 45-year-old suspect tried to run toward the officer on scene, but that officer was able to safely take them into custody.
We want to bring awareness to our community that that is clearly not the way that you need to get a police officer's attention. That is very dangerous.
In a statement, Salt Lake Police Chief Mike Brown commended the officer, recognizing him for his fast response and ensuring no one was hurt. If you invest and keep your eye on the stock market, your Monday did not get off to a great start with the news of a global market meltdown. The Dow Jones dropping more than 1,000 points. That is the Dow's biggest daily percentage loss in 2 years. The Nasdaq and S&P 500 also ended the day in negative territory. According to economic experts, the S&P 500 lost about $1.3 trillion in value. This coming on the heels of Friday's disappointing U.S. jobs report, just one factor that triggered the massive sell-off. Fox 13 News reporter Mark Blaine has local reaction.
With all three major Wall Street indexes plunging, with the Dow and the S&P 500 suffering their worst day since 2022, we caught up with financial advisor Gary Gigi. He says the big factor behind the sell-off is what's going on with Japan's economy.
Meltdown, if you will, has more to do with a very popular trade called the Japanese yen carry trade. And that's where hedge funds or family offices short the yen and then they take the proceeds and buy whatever they want. That worked as long as the Japanese yen stayed low. But over the last month, unlike the US and other countries that are going to be lowering interest rates, the Japanese government actually raised interest rates and the yen appreciated by about 12%, which is huge.
Gigi won't rule out the issue of inflation as a reason for the stock market's troubles, but he says it goes beyond that when it comes to the state of the country's economy.
What is happening is there's a concern that the economy is slowing, and does that turn into a recession, whether it's a light one or whether it's a deep one. That's part of the concerns that people are dealing with.
When it comes to the volatility of the stock market, Gigi's advice is simple: consult with an expert.
They should absolutely be calling the financial advisor on the phone and saying, what should I do? And so from my perspective, I view this as more of a buying opportunity than a selling opportunity. But everyone should speak with their advisors and get their take in terms of what is appropriate for their specific situation.
Sound advice to avoid a knee-jerk reaction that could end up costing you more money in the long run. From Salt Lake City, Mark Blaine, Fox 13 News, Utah.
It was another hot one out there. Temperatures back into the triple digits for many areas. You had to go up to the higher elevations to see any relief from the heat. We got back into the triple digits here in Salt Lake. 102, 103 in Ogden, 107 in St. George. 101 in Milford, 100 in Delta, and today's high temperature of 102 in Salt Lake is the 4th triple digit so far this month in August, and we typically only see 1 during the month of August. The record back in 2020 of 8, so we are working our way up toward the record, and we're going to see triple digits yet again tomorrow. 103, that's going to beat out the previous record of 102, so tomorrow will be a daily high record 109 in St. George. Because of the heat, we have the excessive heat warning that continues for Salt Lake, the Wasatch Front extending into the West Desert. Lower Washington County, Lake Powell, all within that excessive heat warning. High temperatures in the triple digits. Stay hydrated. Take breaks if you have to work outside. Make sure you take care of the pets as well as the kids. Heat advisory orange shaded areas where those high temperatures, upper 90s to around 100 degrees, and the overnight lows aren't going to cool off, and that's a big reason we have the excessive heat warning and the heat advisory. We're going to stay in the 70s overnight into tomorrow morning. 83 in St. George. The cool spot, Park City, 58 to start your Tuesday morning. 91 right now in Salt Lake. The temperatures are still pretty warm for this late at night. It's 100 in St. George, 92 in Ogden, 88 in Delta, 88 in Hanksville. The cool spot, Evanston, checking in at 72 degrees. Radar shows a little bit of activity remaining. Most of it has started to fizzle out, though, with that loss of daytime heating over the past few hours, but there's a little bit of rain trying to work its way to Provo, so don't be surprised if you hear a couple raindrops hitting the window or see them hitting the windshield over the next few hours. The heaviest rain that we saw today was just to the south and west of Salt Lake, from Copperton all the way up to West Jordan, South Jordan, even southern parts of West Valley saw anywhere between a quarter and in some cases half an inch of rain. In the big winter of Park City, especially on the south side up toward Hideout, saw anywhere between 1.5 inches and 2 inches of rain this afternoon. Those rain chances are going down with that loss of daytime heating, but by tomorrow afternoon we do see those isolated storm chances, especially for Cedar City. They'll be favored to see the isolated activity, and then once we get this high pressure to start to weaken, we start to see the introduction of more moisture and cooler temperatures late week into the weekend, and then by moving into next week we should see even more opportunities to see temperatures maybe a little below normal and increased rain chances. It's going to be hot tomorrow. We're going to say that 108 to 110 range as we work our way in the afternoon hours tomorrow. We see temperatures come down just a little bit by the end of the week into the weekend, nearing 100. So about an 8 to 10 degree temperature drop. Hot tomorrow for the Wasatch Front, but we fall back into the 90s by the end of the week. And then it looks like high temperatures Sunday, Monday could stay in the upper 80s.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is the start of National Night Out events for Utah communities all throughout the state. In fact, throughout the country, millions of people take part in National Night Out on the first Tuesday of August. The goal is to promote community partnerships and neighborhood connections with first responders.
The community ultimately supports us, and that's who we serve in general. So it's our chance to have face-to-face conversations and just meet and rub shoulders with our neighbors in our community.
Yeah, you got my support. The annual Safety Fair in Murray tonight is just the start of a string of events that last almost all month long. A number of experts in science, military, and academic fields have gathered at Utah State University for the Small Satellite Conference. Running since 1987, the event features discussions of new developing technologies in the small satellite industry. The theme this year focused on how automation could be integrated into small satellite systems, making them smarter and more effective.
We have over 45 countries represented here, and many of the leaders of those industries will be here. But we also have the suppliers, the folks who build the satellites, build the launch vehicles, build the ground stations.
The organizers announced this is the last year the convention will be hosted at the USU campus in Logan. Due to its growth over the years, next year's convention will be hosted at the Salt Palace.
Both sides of the debate when it comes to banned books in our public schools. I'm Amy Nay in Salt Lake. I'll bring you that story coming up.
A bill to legalize the lottery in Utah is coming back.
A popular Salt Lake City bike shop is shutting down. Why the owner is selling everything to try to save a piece of the planet.
The BYU Cougars have a quarterback battle going on in Provo. Who's coming out on top? Kalani Sitake will tell us how they look today in week 2.
Just last Friday, the State Board of Education announced 13 books that are slated to be removed from all public schools all across the state after certain sensitive material was identified within their pages. Fox 13 News anchor Amy Nay spoke to the media library specialist with the school board about the decision and has more reaction from a local library.
So, we're following the law, 53G-10-103. So in that law, it was asked that we be responsible for communicating to LEAs which materials have met a statewide threshold for removal.
LEAs are local education agencies, basically your local public school. And Utah State Board of Ed Library Media Specialist Davina Southoff says they're just facilitating what state legislators have instructed.
Because this law went into effect in 2022 and it was amended this last legislative session. The latest version or amendment of the law is much more detailed about what schools look for, what the criteria is, and particularly for objective sensitive material, there are specifics that schools are looking for.
After what they described as a vast process, Friday the state board identified 13 books to be pulled from public school libraries across the state.
As far as the state board is concerned, we follow the law. We are, facilitating what the law asks us to do. And so I know there's different, perceptions and viewpoints out there, but, my goal is to help LEAs implement the law in the best way possible.
Administrators here at the public library in Salt Lake say they understand, and they too have a vast process when it comes to procuring the right collection. But they say limiting access, particularly those from a certain viewpoint, is a dangerous thing to do.
So many of these books that are being challenged or removed are by BIPOC authors or are showing off the LGBTQIA experience. And so when you take those out of schools, you're limiting what children can see, whether that's having that empathetic experience or also seeing themselves reflected. And that can be harmful either way. And it is a slippery slope to start seeing what else is going to be removed in the future.
Many families spending their Monday here at the main library in downtown Salt Lake, enjoying the many resources available, something their teen services specialist says they hope will only continue.
My whole job is about access and providing access to people, especially teens. So when I hear that their access is being taken away, I get concerned.
Librarian Stephanie Costa says she thought as a society we'd progress past this sort of thing.
Yeah, it's wild. I think we maybe a few years back didn't see this coming, and now it's happening.
Promising at the public libraries, they'll continue to offer as many different viewpoints as possible for families to then make their own decisions on what's appropriate for their child.
Every parent has their own opinions about what they think their young person should be reading or what values they have in their home, and we want all parents here in our community to feel empowered to find the materials that they find appropriate. But when one family wants to remove that access for their own child, they remove it for every family and every child in the community.
Focusing on getting kids to read and bettering their educational opportunities is the ultimate goal, the state board spokesperson says, once they're in compliance with the law.
Once I've done that, I want to continue supporting school libraries and librarians who serve our students in developing literacy and a love of reading. And so that's really kind of where I focus. I trying not to get into the nitty gritty of, the different camps and the viewpoints there. Really, I just want to help facilitate implementation of the law and support school librarians to serving our students.
Reporting in Salt Lake, Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Search and rescue operations continue for a third day at Willard Bay, with crews searching for 51-year-old Robert Mittendorf, who disappeared into the water Saturday night. The Weber County Sheriff's Office says Mittendorf was swimming with his son when a sudden storm separated them from their boat. The son was able to get back to that boat, but Mittendorf was not.
They did not have life jackets at the time. The son was able to try to get a life jacket out to the father, but because of the winds, because of the storm moving in, it was just too powerful to get those life jackets to his father.
The South Marina remains closed as the search continues. Meanwhile, a man was found dead at the Mount Olympus trailhead over the weekend. Salt Lake County Sheriff's deputies were called to the trailhead on reports of gunfire right around 4:30 a.m. Saturday morning. Deputies found 18-year-old Neod Welde inside a vehicle, dead from multiple gunshot wounds. So far, there is no information about the shooter or what led to the incident.
We're asking the public for any information. If anyone saw anybody up there early morning Saturday, maybe even starting after midnight, and if anyone saw anybody in that area or a vehicle in that area that may have been suspicious, to give us a call.
Anyone with information about the case can call 801-840-4000. Sheriff Rivera there also told us that more deputies will be patrolling the trailhead as the investigation continues. A suspect now in jail after domestic violence situation in Wood Cross that happened overnight. Police say they got the first call around 1 a.m. After hours of attempting to negotiate with the armed and barricaded subject, at one point he came out and fired shots at officers. At least one of them returned fire.
He fired in the direction of our SWAT team members, and in and out there were several volleys of rounds fired. As the residents were evacuated, they were close by, or given the option to shelter in place if they refused to evacuate.
The suspect then ran back inside, and negotiations to get him to surrender continued. Officers used tear gas to eventually convince him to give up. Police say the alleged victim is a former girlfriend of the suspect. She was unharmed. We will keep you updated as we learn more. A state lawmaker is proposing once again to legalize the lottery in Utah. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has the exclusive story from Utah's Capitol Hill.
The idea of bringing the lottery here to Utah is back on the Hill, but there will be some big changes.
We come down here.
Jeff and Deborah Hartman drove from Cedar City to Littlefield, Arizona to get some lottery tickets. This Eagles Landing is the closest many southern Utahns can get in their efforts to play.
Might as well keep the revenue in Utah as opposed to us traveling here to Arizona to spend our lottery money.
Representative Kara Birkeland last year proposed a constitutional amendment to legalize the lottery in Utah. Politically, it went nowhere on Capitol Hill.
It actually had a lot more public support than I was expecting.
So she's bringing it back. Representative Birkeland argues Utah is losing hundreds of millions of dollars a year to neighboring states, and she'd like to see Utah lower taxes instead.
What I'm trying to do is just capture the existing behavior of people who will drive across the state line to buy those tickets and say, instead of doing that, let's bring you and keep you within Utah's borders.
While it was popular with the public, Representative Birkeland faced serious political pushback. House leadership seemed supportive, Senate leadership and the governor were not. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a powerful presence on Capitol Hill, also opposes legalized gambling, including lotteries, and isn't shy about it. So this year, she's proposing a compromise.
What I'm proposing this year is that any county that borders a state with the lottery can open up and have the lottery in that county, so that you don't have people in the heart of Salt Lake City or wherever else just walking down the street to a convenience store buying a lottery ticket. It still creates a little bit of a work to get there.
Utah is surrounded by lottery states, except for Nevada, which has legalized gambling. So her proposed constitutional amendment would only allow these counties to sell lottery tickets.
Now, there's still those saying that this is, really going to decay morally our state. And to them, I just hope that this compromise is showing we're not, again, changing behaviors. We're just capturing those same behaviors within our state limits.
Representative Birkeland is also proposing to legalize charity raffles. Those are technically illegal, even if you do see them everywhere. Now, she is proposing this bill for the 2025 legislative session. If it passes there, you, the voter, would decide it in 2026. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, coming up, Vice President Harris is narrowing in on her pick for a running mate after weekend interviews. We have new details about her choice. And we get a look at the devastating and deadly flooding left behind after Tropical Storm Debbie made landfall in Florida. We'll be right back. A bicycle shop in downtown Salt Lake City now calling it quits. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree spoke with the owner of Cranky's about why he's closing his business.
I'll miss this terribly, but it's just time to go.
Chris Pereira has seen so much of the world on a bike.
It's cheaper, you smell things, you see things, you can stop at places where normally you can't. People are friendlier to you, you're more approachable, you're less threatening. It's just the coolest thing ever.
After getting injured while full-time racing, Chris began working in bike shops. 10 years ago, he opened Cranky's.
It's kind of a play on words with, bicycle crank and my short temper.
Now, sales stickers are on every bike, helmet, and tire in the shop. Chris is closing one of the few independently owned bike shops in town.
I'm selling at a huge loss even. I even have a bank ready to loan the money because they have my financials. The shop is profitable. Haven't been able to find anybody to take over because I really didn't want to see it picked apart and dismantled and not be a thing.
This is not the end of the road. Once all these bikes are sold, Chris will take those profits and shift into a new gear.
I'm trying to basically secure as much land as I can to protect it forever. It'll never be developed, trees will never be cut down, it'll always be there.
While bike packing recently, Chris decided to buy a piece of land in Costa Rica next to a national park. With a trust, he plans to protect the green corridor forever.
Just like the shop, I started super tiny as this smallest shop in town. Now we're pretty much one of the biggest. And maybe with the whole animal sanctuary, I have no idea. Not a big planner, I kind of wing it and we'll see what happens.
Regular customers are sad to see Cranky's go, but are impressed by Chris's choice.
Being able to take the momentum of something like this, a bike shop that's been successful for many years now in Salt Lake, it's very iconic, and then kind of taking that into a passion project. I think that's a really cool opportunity for Chris, and glad he's taking it.
It will be tough for bikers to find another shop like Cranky's.
I feel like they just really listened to what I'm looking for, and they weren't just trying to sell me a bike. And it just feels a lot more customized and comfortable, and I feel like I trust them. They really know what they're talking about, so you worry that you're not going to find that in a chain store.
Saying goodbye to the Cranky's crew and customers won't be easy, but Chris says he's ready to ride into the next chapter of his life.
My bags are mentally packed. I'm ready to start driving south.
In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A few lucky folks saw some rain out there this afternoon and this evening. A little more rain in the forecast tomorrow. I'll let you know which areas could see the rain and how much could fall coming up.
Coming up in sports, we'll tell you why tomorrow's a big day for Lowry Market, and we'll also check in with the Utah and BYU football teams at today's practices. And it was a big night for RSL in the Leagues Cup. A winner, a tie, and they're through to the knockout stages. But Houston, we have a problem. Highlights are on the way.
Well, soon we will know who Vice President Kamala Harris is choosing as her vice presidential pick for the upcoming election. Harris is holding a rally in Philadelphia on Tuesday and is expected to make the announcement ahead of time. That way it can be her first rally with her VP pick. On Sunday, Harris met with 3 potential contenders, including Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. In national news, Tropical Storm Debbie has slammed into Florida, bringing with it catastrophic flooding. Debbie had made landfall as a Category 1 hurricane before weakening. A 13-year-old boy was killed when high winds from the storm knocked a tree onto his mobile home in Fanning Springs, Florida. Police say the teen was sleeping at the time and died instantly. The driver of a tractor trailer also died after plunging off an interstate bridge and into a canal near Tampa. At least 4 people have died as a result of the storm, which is now making its way toward Georgia and South Carolina.
That part of the country, you're going to see some really heavy rain over the next 7 days. This is that rainfall forecast, and we're going to see Debbie continuing to just dump heavy rain from southeastern parts of Georgia, coastal Georgia, into the Carolinas. This is where there's that possibility to see additional rain accumulations between 1 to 2 feet. Historic flooding possible for parts of South Carolina into North Carolina, and then eventually by the middle and end of the week, that moisture spreads north into the mid-Atlantic, even into the Northeast. This is going to cause significant issues, possibly flight delays. We need that moisture here in Utah, and we do have some in the forecast over the next 7 days, especially along the I-15 corridor and points east. We're going to get into a more favorable weather pattern that favors some of that moisture moving into Utah. Now, right now, we have this big high pressure in place. Yes, a little bit of monsoonal moisture working its way in on that western periphery of it, but what's going to happen by the end of the week, it starts to weaken, and then over the weekend into that following week, it shifts off to the south and east. It starts to weaken. That opens the door for more moisture to move into Utah. We're going to see rain in some areas. We're also going to see some cooler temperatures out there as well from latter parts of this week into the weekend into next week. We get into a little more of an active weather pattern, and we need it because it's hot out there. 107 was that high today in St. George, 102 Wendover, 103 Ogden, 102 in Salt Lake. And this is the 4th day in August that we've seen triple digits here in Salt Lake. We normally average 1, the record 2020 of 8. We possibly could see that because tomorrow we're going to get up to 103, so that's going to be day 5, and this is going to be a record. The record high for tomorrow is 102 in Salt Lake. We're going to get up to 103, 109 in St. George. There's a successive heat warning for West Desert, Wasatch Front, including Salt Lake. Lower parts of Washington County, Lake Powell, high temperatures in the triple digits, overnight lows staying in the 70s, even 80s. Stay hydrated, take breaks if you work outside, and take care of those pets as well as the kids in those hot temperatures. And the overnight lows, there's just no relief from the heat. 76 tomorrow morning in Salt Lake, 83 in St. George. So you can't just open up the window and let it cool your home off. And case in point, it's 91 right now, almost 10 o'clock at night. We're holding on to the warm temperatures here in Salt Lake. 92 Ogden, 92 Wendover, 100 right now in St. George, 90 in Moab. So it's a very warm Monday night, and the rain that we saw earlier today is starting to fizzle out with that loss of daytime heating. But some areas saw some really good rain, especially to the south and west of Salt Lake. Copperton down to Harriman saw anywhere between 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, and Park City got dumped on. Look at that, 1.5 to 2.5 inches on the south side of Park City. Rain chances going down tonight, but we do have that chance tomorrow, especially for Cedar City, to see the isolated showers and storms. But hot temperature are going to be the main forecast concern tomorrow. 108 to 110 in southwestern Utah. Temperatures come down to around 100 over the weekend with those increased rain chances. Very hot for the Wasatch Front tomorrow, but we fall back into the 90s by Wednesday, possibly into the upper 80s for highs by Sunday and Monday, with a chance for isolated storms.
Real Salt Lake played their second match in the Leagues Cup group stage tonight in Houston. They were in good shape after beating Atlas from Mexico in the first match 2-1. Arsenal would win the group with the win or a draw in Houston. Houston needed to win by 2 goals or more to have them advance. Hector Herrera gave Houston the early lead on this shot that was deflected and went in. Houston up 1-0 in the 7th minute. Later in the second half, Houston with a free kick, and it's Mikel Dos Santos Silva who rises up and heads it in. Houston up 2-0. The Dynamos added one more goal before the half. Houston won it 3-0, knocking RSL out of the Leagues Cup in group play. College football preseason coaches poll came out today. Utah ranked 13th They are the highest of 5 Big 12 teams in the top 25. The Utes have Cam Rising back at quarterback, and he says he has plenty of talent around him. He just got to get them the ball in their hands.
We got some weapons that are all around. A lot of times it's usually you got to pick a few guys that you really want to work the ball to. Now it kind of feels like you can just open it up and call plays for anybody on the field, and they'll end up winning their matchup. So that's the biggest difference, I think.
That's got to be fun for you.
Oh, absolutely. Just makes your life easy. You just get to go out there and pick whatever route you like and work that.
BYU also started week 2 of fall camp with the pads on. The Cougars also have plenty of talent, but they're still trying to figure out who will be their starting quarterback. Jake Retzlaff and Gary Bohannon are the front runners right now.
It's like they kind of go back and forth, and so I don't know if it's enough yet to separate them, but when we factor it all in, it's more who can get the team to execute the best and make sure that we're not making mistakes. But a lot of that is not the quarterback. I think the quarterback's doing a great job, and I would say all 4 of them. We made some mistakes today, threw some picks, but it's okay. I think that's more defense making plays than anything else. But I'm really pleased with the way the progress. I've seen the progress of the quarterback position with all those guys.
Lauri Markkanen will become eligible to have his contract renegotiated and extended by the Utah Jazz tomorrow. Markkanen is in the final year of a 4-year, $65.5 million contract, which pays him around $18 million this upcoming season. That's one of the best valued contracts in the NBA. Tomorrow is exactly 6 months ahead of the February 6th trade deadline. A player who signs an extension cannot be traded for 6 months. So if he doesn't sign the extension on Wednesday, he can't be traded till next season. So he probably won't sign anything tomorrow. Wait until Wednesday. That way he has a little more control, and he might not even sign it at all. We'll have to see what he does over the next several days. But of course, everybody loves Lauri Markkanen.
Oh, he's a
great
good
player.
Rising star.
Yeah.
I think it's funny how $18 million is a value deal.
It's a budget. Yeah, it's a steal.
Exactly. You think of a value menu, the cheaper items.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Keep us updated, Jeff. We'll be right back. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hope you can stick around because QuickCast is next.